You ever walk into a place you've given your whole life to and realize, in a single breath, that nobody sees you for who you are? That's exactly what happened to me that Tuesday morning. Yeah, that happened. Picture this. I'm standing there in the marble lobby of Liberty Financial, my own bank, but you'd have thought I was a total stranger, or worse, a threat. And it all started with 6 words slicing through the air like broken glass. Get her out of here. Security. Now, that was Sandra Miller, the branch manager, barking orders like she was the queen of the castle. Never mind the truth of what was about to come crashing down. The security guys moved fast, hands twitching at their belts, eyes hard. And there I was, Jessica Carter, just another customer to them. Except I wasn't. Not really. All I'd done was hand over a withdrawal slip $4,175,000 my own money, from my own account. Modest blouse, navy coat, simple shoes, hair pulled back, no entourage, no big announcement. I just wanted to see for myself, firsthand, if the rumors I'd heard about discrimination at my own bank were true. I didn't expect to become living proof. But even before I got to the counter, I'd seen enough to know something was rotten. A rich white guy walks in. They treat him like he's royalty, no questions, no fuss, just smiles all around. Then this elderly Asian couple, they get waved off, told to wait with a number, 0 warmth. Right after, a Latino man in his work clothes, he tries to cash a check and gets the 3rd degree, like he's on trial. Standing in line, I felt that knot in my gut. I kept thinking, no way. Not here. Not at my bank. But when I stepped forward and handed Amy Bennett, the teller, my slip and ID, her whole demeanor switched. Her smile faded. She glanced at my skin, at my natural curls, and suddenly the warmth was gone. "This is a large amount," she whispered, loud enough for everyone behind me to catch. I stayed calm. "It's within my limit." Amy didn't budge, just kept looking at my documents like I was holding a fake. She called over Greg Harris, senior teller. Greg crossed his arms and gave me that look, you know the one. "We've had a lot of fraud cases lately, especially with customers like this," he muttered, not even hiding his meaning. Every eye in the branch was on me by then, judgment rolling off them in waves. Greg pressed, "Is there a problem here?" I answered, "No problem. I just want my money." He leaned closer, lowered his voice, but made sure half the bank could hear. "We need to verify your account very carefully." The suspicion in his eyes stung, but I kept my voice even. "Is there a problem with my account?" I asked, not backing down an inch. "We're just following policy," he said, acting like his hands were tied. But I could see it in his eyes, and the way Amy and the others shot glances at each other. They'd made up their minds about me the moment I walked in. The tension ratcheted up when Greg, unsatisfied, demanded I explain the source of my funds. "This isn't a routine transaction for a customer like you." He said it loud. "Are you sure this money is legitimate?" By now, people were openly whispering, pulling out their phones, recording every second. I could feel the judgment, the barely disguised contempt. I took a breath. "This money comes from my work, over years, all accounted for." Greg smirked. Amy's face turned to stone. And then, out of nowhere, Jason Collins, the new teller, cocky as hell, leaned in with a grin and said, "Did you win the lottery, or what? Someone like you, that's not normal, right?" I met his eyes, and in that moment, I knew this wasn't just ignorance. This was a culture, a system. I steadied myself, remembering every single person who'd ever been treated this way but didn't have a voice. "My personal affairs are not your concern," I replied. "Just process the transaction." But Jason kept going, raising his voice. "Hey, the bank's got a check for shady funds, you know? Especially with people like you." He made sure everyone heard that. Phones were out everywhere. I could see the humiliation building, but I stood my ground. "I'll remember what you said, Jason. I hope you do too." That's when Sandra Miller stormed out of her office, posture stiff, ice cold. She didn't even pretend to ask who I was or why I was there. "We only serve a certain class of clients," she announced for all to hear, with clear backgrounds, not just anyone wanting hundreds of thousands in cash. The branch went dead silent. Her words hung in the air, heavy and unmistakable. I felt a surge of pain, but also a rising fire. I stared Sandra down and said, "So you're saying I don't belong here?" She shrugged, hiding behind her title. "If you feel offended, that's your problem." That's when I realized this was the moment. Either I backed down, or I exposed the truth. So, cool as ever, I pulled out my phone and called Michael Roberts, the operations director, second only to the CEO. When Amy and Jason heard his name, they turned pale. Sandra tried to play it cool, but I could see the fear flicker in her eyes as I told Michael what was happening, right there, in front of everyone. 15 minutes later, Michael burst through the doors like a storm. He looked at Sandra, Greg, Jason, and Amy with the kind of fury that said this was going to change everything. "Do you know who you've just insulted?" he demanded. Nobody answered. "This is Jessica Carter," he said, "the CEO of Liberty Financial." Yeah, you should have seen their faces. Every bit of arrogance drained out of Sandra, Greg, Jason, Amy just started sobbing. The whole branch was silent as a grave. Michael turned to me, regret and respect in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Jessica. This shouldn't have happened." I just nodded. "It's what I needed to know. Now we deal with it." He didn't hesitate. Sandra Miller, Greg Harris, Jason Colinzieri all terminated effective immediately. Sandra tried to protest, but Michael cut her off. "No more excuses. This is racial discrimination, clear as day. Security, revoke their access. They are never to step foot in Liberty Financial again." I turned to the rest of the staff and told them, "This is your warning. Treat every customer with respect, no exceptions." There was no applause, just a heavy, sobering silence as the message sank in. Next morning, I called an all-hands meeting at headquarters. I stood before everyone and told the story straight. No sugarcoating. "This is not just about a few bad apples," I said. "This is about the culture we create, the standards we live by. So here's what's going to change. Zero tolerance for discrimination, mandatory training for every single employee, a new code of ethics, and a reporting system so everyone is accountable." The applause that day felt different. It was the sound of relief and maybe hope. From that day, Liberty Financial became a case study in how a crisis can become the catalyst for real change, not just for a company, but for an entire community. Meanwhile, the story exploded online. Videos of Sandra, Greg, and Jason spread like wildfire. They lost their jobs, their reputations, everything. But as for me, I started speaking out everywhere at schools, conferences, on TV, reminding people that discrimination hurts us all, not just the ones it targets. And if you're still listening, here's what I want you to do. Don't let this story end here. Share it. Talk about it. Ask yourself, what side of history do you want to be on? Is it enough to not be racist? Or will you stand up against injustice wherever you see it? Let's keep this conversation going, because real justice needs every single voice. You know what I mean?